So I've done a lot of Eurovision rankings before. I'll do a lot of Eurovision rankings again. But today I'm going to rank the logos. Why? Because no good reason. So, coming along, some of these I know, many of these I do not because they're from before I started watching regularly. But some of these I do recognize from Think About Eurovision. So the ones I don't recognize primarily are these ones at the bottom. Latvia 2003, I can honestly say, not blown away by this one. It's a contest I haven't personally visited yet, so it's not one that I'm crazy about. Is it interesting? I mean, sure. But it's not one that I'm going to gravitate towards. I kind of feel the same way about Copenhagen 2001. I don't really see... You can see like a little bit of ingenuity here. I don't hate it, but I definitely don't love it. I don't think it's one of my favorites. There's nothing about this image that screams Eurovision. It's just kind of a heart. I guess the idea of the circles and interlocking is supposed to be something related to either orbits or planets, or maybe it's just trying to be a deconstructed heart. I don't know. The lips I always thought were a weird choice for the logo. Certainly not one of my favorites. I don't like the starkness of it. I didn't like it when I watched it as a part of Think About Eurovision. I have to say that it's kind of just plain and silly. Not overly fond of it. I don't think it really says anything super interesting, so it's definitely not one that I would keep at the top of my list. Estonia 2002, I like the use of colors, and that's about it. I like it more than the lips, but I don't know what they're going for here. I guess it might be like countries on a map, or maybe it's just polka dots, or maybe it's just designed to be amorphous blobs. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. But definitely not one of my favorites. Certainly some options here for growth, certainly some ways to improve it going forward, but it's definitely not one I'm going to go for. A classic heart logo. I mean, it's kind of become the default standard. I don't know if this was the first time they did this. I'm guessing so, in which case, highly effective, highly interesting, but certainly not one that I think you would recognize as being, this is distinctly this year, you know? The kaleidoscopic image I think is interesting. I like the idea. I'm sure they're trying to go across like the flags and being like a kaleidoscope of many different nations coming together to form a beautiful picture, blah, 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 saccharine, other things. Not the worst. Interesting, fun enough. So definitely not one that I hate, but certainly not one that I love. The Ukraine entry, the green and red. Never liked this one. I always thought this was a weird one. I feel like it's overly basic, but it's got at least a distinct pattern to it. It feels very much like young clip art to me, but at the same time, I don't hate it. I like the use of green and red. I think that it's a very underused color combination outside of Christmas. So keeping that in mind, I think it's interesting enough. I don't think it's one that I will go back to and be like, oh, I love this. But is it one that I instantly like reject and revile? No, it's fine enough. Belgrade. I didn't realize that this was Belgrade that did this one. I like this one. I like this one a lot. I think the use of the treble note motif is very interesting. I like the use of the colors coming together. I think that they did a really interesting job of representing not only Serbian colors, but also just music is universal. It's what they're going over time and time again. I really like that. I think that's very pretty. I think that's very well thought out. And it's different enough that it kind of stands on its own. You can look at that and be like, oh, this is this year. So I like that. I think that's good. The purple blob. Is this a 2010? Oh my god. That's like much later than I thought it was. 2010. Wow, yeah. I guess that would have been Norway. Don't like the pink blob. I think I actually like the pink blob. No, I like it more than Ukraine's. I think at least it's interesting. It's a new use of color. The use of pink is confusing. I don't know why they went with such like an interesting color combination there, but for whatever reason, there it is. That's what they did. So they chose it. I don't know. Dusseldorf, the heart as just being its own thing. Something about heartbeat, just middle of the pack, safe, interesting enough, I guess. Not one that I would gravitate towards often, but certainly not one that I revile at all. This one was Greece. So, I mean, Greece is at least interesting. I like the use of the like almost like a heart monitor is my guess with like a landscape in there. That's kind of cool. They did something with it, which is what I like. There's nothing that drives me more nuts than when they do nothing with it, which is often. as we can kind of see going ahead. But yeah, not my favorite, but not one that I'm gonna like throw out or anything. I thought this was Russia. I really like the Phoenix, actually. I think I actually prefer this. This is my favorite one so far. I love purple. I love blue and red together. I think it's a beautiful color combination. I love gradients. I know I shouldn't love gradients, but I do, even though they're a cliche. I love the swirls. Actually, no, I think this one's probably one of my favorites. It's well done. It's well designed. It's a lot of aesthetics that I enjoy together in a thing. So keeping that in mind, I think it's cool. I think it's really well done. I don't hate it. Don't hate it at all. The butterfly, I think, is also another one that I really enjoy. I think that it's a really interesting motif. I like the use of color. It's simple. It's pretty. It's universal. Everyone has butterflies. Everyone loves the colors. It's just really nicely done. So keeping that in mind, got to keep that up in the top. Now, going to Portugal. No, that's Portugal. This would be Celebrate Diversity. This is, oh man, what year was this? 2016? 2017. Ukraine again. Don't hate the beads. I think that it's fine. I'll put it behind the classic one, but yeah, I'd say that's a fine one. Not a favorite, but I like the use of, like, a bead is kind of a universal motif, which I think is interesting. It was kind of like this year when they had, what was it? Well, whenever there's a symbol that, like, everyone uses, like the Junior Eurovision used tops, which is something like every culture had, and I was just like, that's interesting. Not something I would have considered, but done in a unique way. So I thought that was cool. Baku, Light Your Fire. I mean, it's fine. I like swirls, and I like the use of the orange and the yellow. I think that's a really nice color combination. Is it original? Not overly, but I do like how they take the fire and they turn it into a flower, which is a symbol of, like, life and love and all that stuff. So that's cool. I'll give credit where credit's due. I think that one's a fun one. The Building Bridges one is one I've always thought was kind of boring. I would say this is, like, strong middle of the pack vibes. I would be surprised if it ends up being higher than that for anyone, but certainly not the best, certainly not the worst. The Building Bridges was a weird theme, though. It's just like, you don't need to build bridges right now. Everyone seems to be getting along at the time. Now, not so much, but, at the time, it seemed like it was fine. All right, hashtag join us. God, I hate this one. I think it's so bad. I love blue. I love the idea of crystallizing things. I love gems and the way they shine. But overall, this one doesn't do it for me. Not a fan. Not enjoying it. I think it's very bland, and the way they have it set up is just not very... It's not a good aesthetic for it. It's not one that I enjoy. So, and on the other hand of the ones I don't enjoy, I thought that this was a weird choice for Portugal as well. I mean, I'll keep them as a high C, but definitely not one I enjoy. I like the idea of the seashell, but I don't feel like it's as universal as you want it to be. Maybe it's supposed to represent other things as well, but that's always kind of what I got from it. I felt like it was very much that realm. So, not quite a universal symbol in that regard. The dandelion I thought was cool. I think they did a good job with this one. I would keep it right behind the beads, but I like that idea that it's just this really bright, beautiful spherical object, because I think that there's a really interesting play on patterns and shape there. So definitely one that I would enjoy more of seeing in the future. So not more of, but like I think they did a good job on this one. The neon one, 2019. I thought this one was really cool, actually. And I really liked how they kept the aesthetic into the stage as well. Like, I always remember that one song, Cross My Heart by Ansel from Azerbaijan. Like, I always remember her on the thing, even though it didn't qualify. I always thought that it was just a really nicely integrated into the set itself. They did a really cool job of it. I think that was a lot of fun. All right, the 2020 and 2021. I mean, they're fine. I would say the 2021 is weaker. I like the idea of the flags congregating in. I thought that was cool. I think that they do make it a bit more dynamic in the next one. I'll even consider it a bit above the Grecian one, because I think that there's at least something cool there. There's something interesting and active and engaging. So I like that. The Sound of Music, or the Sound of whatever it was, Sound of Beauty, or something silly like, it was bad. I don't like the color combination. I don't like how they did it. I thought that the idea was there, but just a weird, like, brownie orange, not my favorite. I feel like if you're gonna go Eurovision, go neon, go Tetra, go like crazy, and they didn't do that. It was just kind of there. How do I feel about United by Music? I mean, I kind of hate it, but I kind of like it at the same time. So I'm gonna say like there. I would say perfectly middle of the pack B. So these are my favorite ones. These are the ones I thought were good. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And curious to know what you think. All right, until next time. Bye.